Hello and welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to be going over Tinto Maps number 11, which is going to be covering the Scandinavia region. This is, of course, in the big top secret game, Europa Universalis 5, aka Project Caesar, aka Project Teaser. And so this one, interestingly, is actually done by Johan. Normally, I think the past few have been done by Pavia, is the name of the dev. I don't think we've seen Johan in these streets. He's been wishing us a happy Wednesday, I think, for 3 or 4 Wednesdays in a row now. So let's see if we get a happy Friday. Welcome, everyone. Today I will be talking about the Scandinavia region. Part of it was the first maps we drew for Project Teaser back in early spring of 2020. This doesn't sound like Happy Friday, and I have to admit I am a little disappointed. Today we will take a look at all parts of the Scandinavian peninsula, including Denmark and the Kola Peninsula. Greenland and Iceland will be looked at a separate map talk. That's kind of interesting. We're going to have our separate map for Greenland, Iceland entirely. Perhaps. I guess geography is a little bit tough trying to do these maps all together. But there we see it. Sweden, the not most overpowered region as a result of being Swedish game devs. No Happy Friday. Or maybe this is just really poorly spelled. Who knows? Scandinavia only has 5 locations, location-based countries at the start of the game. Denmark, who is a bit of crisis at the moment, and their vassal Schleswig to the south. On the peninsula proper, we have Sweden and Norway, who are in union at the moment that as they share the same king. Scania was sold off to Sweden by the Danes 5 years before the start of the game. So we do see Scania. Is that the Danes control this? Or it's independent, but it's subject of the Danish, the Denmarks. Okay, fair enough. For locations, we'll take a quick look here. Okay, it's all split up into different maps here, but we see quite a bit of impassable terrain separating Norway and Sweden. Hopefully my geography is correct on that. We see kind of down on the peninsula here all these different regions, and I am not, you know, I don't know very much about Swedish geography, but I have to assume that this is, if they're going to get any map area right, it would in fact be Sweden. They even said that they started with this Sweden map before anything else, because Swedish developer. While Scandinavia has a lot of locations, we have to remember that this is a huge area, and together with Kola and Karjala, it is the same size as France, Spain, and Portugal, and Italy and Benelux together. This is, of course, the reason it doesn't look as big on most map projections is because most map projections use the Mercator projection, which makes things, the poles look way smaller than they actually are, right? Well, no, Greenland looks way bigger than it actually is. Africa looks like way smaller. It's the southern hemisphere that really gets messed up by that. You know, Paradox tends to make Sweden, in my opinion, more overpowered than it should be, so this is perhaps it has more locations than it really should. The size of balance. The size of locations is smaller in the south, particularly where population was, and is, still is relatively bigger. Okay. Talking about geography, justifying. Ooh, we get some redacted, my personal favorite. We have tried to follow historical tradition, traditional province borders here, but some have ended up being too small, like Småland. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Småland tends to be too small. Lapland, or Österbotten, which were cut into pieces, and some are just too tiny to matter. Now, I wish we had time to write up about history of each province here, but I'll add a few little tidbits. Satakunta, which is the Finnish name, is named in Finnish, as most things with Finnish names are, like the old regions of Svitjod, which were divided into hundreds. It was also referred to some Bjornborgs, named after Bjornborg Popuri in Finnish, a town founded by Johan III, when Ulfsby was no longer accessible from the sea. The regiment from the area was the last of the Swedish army regiments that had ever won a battle inside Sweden. Shout out to them. And their military march is a song I think every Finnish citizen wants to play repeatedly on TV during the Olympics, as one does when one is Finnish and watching the Olympics. Småland, the smallest of lands, was divided into Tioharad and Kalmar län, and should really be referred to as a Småland Derna, as there were 12 countries here, compared to the 3 other much larger countries of counties, right? countries? Countries? Are those countries? Okay, whatever. Svealand, Austria, Gotland, Västra Götaland, and now why is Austria Götaland not containing Kinda? Okay. Alright, fair enough. Okay. Topography. I feel like this is a joke I'm not understanding. Because I'm not, Swedish. Okay. And now we have topography. We see... Okay, I don't think we've seen coast and ocean separated in topography now, and then we also see a whole bunch of inland sea. Now in Europa Universalis 4, which is, this is of course the successor for, inland sea you would get bonuses to galleys, and so expecting to see that kind of be a bit of a vibe. We see a lot of hills and mountains kind of in this region, expecting those to have a lot of mineral resources, and then mostly kind of flatlands kind of down here. We do some lakes which are X'd out a little bit. I guess that the X's mean they're impassable. And this is, yeah, so, or not X's, but the black stripes. Some black stripes here, here. Giving us what looks like plenty of impassable terrain in terms of maneuvering troops. For vegetation, we see mostly forest, with a couple of farmlands kind of at the tip of the peninsula here. And in Denmark, so that is going to be interesting. We also see, I think that's where Riga is, farmland, and a little over here. There are some farmlands in Denmark, Scania and Götaland, but the rest is basically a big forest, and up to the north it's even worse. I like how it's worse, but it's sparse, I guess. And then climate, we have Arctic, continental, and a little bit of oceanic off here onto the coast, as well as down here. I think this is the most Arctic we've seen. Yeah, well, there's a reason I moved to Spain. The truth hurts. And then for cultures, we see all the cultures here. We see, or all the cultures that matter. We see Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, Sami, Kven, whole bunch of other stuff here, including Novgorodian, Muscovian, which we saw on the Russia kind of map. Most of the northeast region is still Sami, and the Finnish tribes have not yet unified into a more modern Finnish culture. We have decided to call the modern Minkieli, with their more ancient name of Kven. We still have Gutnish on Gotland, but the Norwegian... Man, every single one of these is just a challenge on me to pronounce something, a bunch of names that I'm not familiar with. But the Norwegian, Danish, and Swedish cultures are becoming more monolithic already. Okay. For religions, we do see a little bit of variety. In terms of getting some shamanist and some of this, in addition to the Catholic. The Finnish are mostly Catholic, but the Sami, Tavastian, Savonia, Biarmian, and Karelans are still mostly following their old pagan beliefs. There are still some Norse people in the forest of Dalarna and Vastmanland. It's a vast land, man. Or vast manland. Yeah, okay, fair. So that'll be... I wonder if this is going to give them unique advances in this type of stuff, probably as a result of being a different religion. And so maybe some of these starts will be interesting. For raw materials, we see a ton of lumber. So this is kind of the map that, generally speaking, most excited about. We see probably the most fish we've ever seen. We see a ton of wild game, a ton of lumber. This is actually a very large amount of fur, and kind of not too much else. I mean... We see some some wheat down here where the farmlands are. I suppose there's a little bit of wheat kind of over here, a little bit of amber. I don't even know if I see any iron. Okay, there's stone. There's some iron, which is iron's kind of been one we've generally kept a close eye on, but man, it's just marble up there. There's, oh, some of this is lumber. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, it's just lumber, wild game, and fish. This has got to be the least resource diverse map we've seen so far, and I'm guessing that, you know, the lack of mineral resources was a little bit shocking given how my experience in Victoria 3, where there's a ton of mineral resources around here, but we don't see it. We just see, I mean, there's a little bit of copper too, but really not a lot. So I wonder how this will inform strategy. I imagine this will make boats cheap. If boats take a lot of wood and your wood price is really cheap, then your boats are going to be cheaper for you, right? And you're going to be getting most of your food from fish, but then where do you go from there? Maybe you'll have to, maybe standing armies will be more expensive for you and you'll have to rely more on navy, is maybe a takeaway we get from this type of map. It's mostly lumber, fish, wild game, fur, and iron. Where's the mostly iron part, bro? Am I missing something? I see, like, 2 sources of iron. What? I feel like I'm missing something if he says it's mostly iron. Is this just like, these are just like several connected locations? I mean, there's some connectivity. Alright, fair enough. We of course have the famous Copper Mountain as well. Okay. Maybe there's bonuses, maybe they just give twice as much iron as a normal iron province because it's Sweden. But on the resources, it's looking a little bit sparse. Or not sparse, but like, it's looking like it's just all wood and fish and fur and wild game. Okay, for markets, we do see the Riga market, which the, you know, trade center is of course in Riga, and then we see Lubeck, so neither of the markets are actually located kind of on the peninsula itself, and then we see Novgorod far to the right, and so perhaps a little bit disappointing for the Swedes that, and the, you know, Norwegians and the also the Danish and the Finnish, that they do not have their own trade center, at least at game start. Scandinavia is divided by the rich markets of Lubeck and Riga. A strong Scandinavian country will probably want to set up their own unified market. Yep, this makes sense. And then we see population, not very large in the population. You know, there's 1 million on the peninsula itself. There's, you know, a few 100,000 here in Denmark. And then I think this is, I don't know if this is Novgorod over here, I can't remember, but overall not a really population dense area. We're not going to take a look at, well, yeah, this is just too hard to read when we read through these just like, for a little bit of detail, unless I was abundantly familiar with the region, knowing what to look for, but not that many people live up here in the north. Yep. I like nice round numbers, me too, as estimates, but the team I hired for content design are madmen and wanted the distribution to feel more organic. So for the far north Scandinavia, we know people were semi-nomadic and that some people lived there, but if it was 100 there or 250 or 20, it's just guesswork. Okay, fair enough. And let's end with a quote from the greatest of poets. Why are we ending with a happy Friday? But okay. This is in Finnish or Swedish or some other language, but alright, I'll indulge you because I imagine you guys would actually rather see me try and butcher this than like respectfully decline to try and pronounce it, but jag skal bli frisk det far brutas, jag måste upp jag I graven lag, lis hår ni hår kan nornera vid jutas da avgårs finniska harens artertag. Alright, I'm sure I mispronounced at least 80% of the words. Probably more. But okay. Next week, Pavia is back with some German maps. Alright, big nice. We do like the German maps. Yeah, that was a little bit of Sweden. We got a little bit of Swedish history. We got a lot of really bad pronunciations by me. And a little bit surprised kind of on the resource map. I was expecting... I mean, not that I think that this is wrong for Sweden, although I don't really know the resource situation of Sweden and Scandinavia and all that well. But I was expecting it to seem more overpowered because classic paradox, always making Sweden better than it should be. I mean, just as good as it should be. Please let me get content early like you guys do. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, let's scroll to the top. Have a happy Friday.